So I bought the electribe. It's the synth version, the music production station. Luckily I got it really cheap because it has a faulty DC jack. But I'm just disappointed with the Korg electribe 2. And to be honest, I am not a fan of any of the electribes that I have tried in the past. I remember trying the first generation, and it was the drum synth, and I didn't like that. I seem to remember finding it very limited, and I didn't have it for very long. And then I got the second generation, the ones that were all shiny and sort of heavy duty looking, the big shiny metal ones. And I got the one that had the tube in it, sort of overdrive. And I remember I really, just the whole sound of that device was awful. It was very dead sounding, it was wooden. No, hacktribe, don't know if you can see that. Right. The major problem with this, and this applies to the electribe or the sampler, the electribe music production or the sampler, is the amp envelope. So the problem with the envelope is that it is not polyphonic. It just doesn't carry on with the first note. If you hit another note, so you have to go through this huge menu to get to, okay, it's on mono, so we don't want it on mono, I want it on polyphonic 2. Because I'm holding one note and playing the other note. When I hit that, it's triggering both the notes again, because it's using the same amp envelope. There's not an individual amp envelope for each note. Do you see what I mean? So that is a big problem with the architecture of the sound synthesizer in this device. So you're never ever going to get a true polyphonic, open, acoustic sounding sound. Your sounds are always massively restricted, really, in a sense of timbre and dynamics. They are massively restricted. So, get that. That is a big problem. That means that you can't play it like a piano. If you are a professional pianist and you plugged in a MIDI keyboard, I'm sure that still affects it in that way. And it's changed it, okay? So there's no amp EG now. So you can't play a chord and let those ring out and add a little harmony, over it. So it's not really truly a true polyphonic, and it means everything's going to have this kind of computer game, one-dimensional, digital feel to it. It's all this kind of short loop, short bar kind of dance music. I got this to put hacktribe, okay, on this. So I have opened up like the FM. pretty cool, I have to say. You know, having the new oscillators is great. Especially if you modulate the os. Don't really have much control over the LFO. You just kind of choose preset things. So in modulation, you have to scroll through until you get to LFO, and then you keep going, and it's LFO affecting different things. So it's quite cool because the LFO can affect the insert effect, but LFO to the oscillator. So the LFO to the oscillator is going to affect the only edit knob that I have. Okay. There's no sustain, which is annoying. No sustain, just attack and decay / release, which is frustrating. There's even room for more knobs on here. If they were all endless encoders, if you could press the shift button, each of these could have dual functions. All of these could be dual functions. So you could have actually had a lot of control then, because you could go, that's attack, shift, and then it makes it sustain. So that sounds cool, right? That's pretty cool. Okay, so the synth section, it's limited, but you can get some okay sounds if you're looking for like leads and basses and things like that, like not too deep. Where it really gets annoying was the sampling, unfortunately, which you press shift and record, you go into sampling mode, mono. I really liked the idea of cutting up this broken music box sound onto the keys here. So this is going to be frustrating. So let's see, let's press play. You get a little monitor bar here, very small. Whoops. You press play to start recording. It's a bit strange. Okay, that's enough. Okay. That's it. We've got it. Let's turn off the effects. So then if I want to edit the sample, you have to go into the menu and scroll into sample edit, enter. Okay, and then this is where it gets really fiddly because you've got a really nice big screen here. We could see the wave here. You could just show the wave of the sample. But no, start point, they just give you 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And you have to keep pressing this until until you get the start point you want. There we go. So I've got it right at the start. Okay? And then you have to press enter, because if you press exit, it forgets that. Okay, endpoint. I'm not too bothered about that, because what I want to do is experiment with time slice. Okay, it's done it. Alright, we wanted the low threshold to get as many separate. These are all lighting up. When I'm pressing one and holding it down, it's affecting the other ones for some reason. And it's forgotten everything I've done. It's forgotten everything. I don't know why, because I was pressing enter.
Hi, I'm Chris, and this is a quick video showing tips how to use the Korg electribe 2 samplers. Use the oscillator control to select the sound for each track.
What? Why is it starting in reverse as well? It's pretty annoying. Okay.
Blank pattern and assign a different sample to each track. Use the oscillator
Go to a blank pattern and assign a different sample to each track. You mean part? So these are all hard wired to 1 to 16 on the MIDI channels, so I can only control one slice of a sample on one channel? This doesn't make any sense. This is really bad.
Control to select the sound.
Oh, it's so bad. Wow, this is awful. If you don't export the sample, even though I've pressed right, and for me, I've saved it, but if you don't go into the menu and export all samples, it's all gone when you turn it off, which obviously just happens with the slightest movement on mine. All it says out of the entire manual is time slice divides the sample by beats. That's literally all it says. So the manual doesn't say anything useful at all. It's useless. Korg seem to have completely misunderstood the whole purpose of time slicing. I just assumed that it would work like a normal sampler, like every other sampler in the universe. It's basically like a toy. It's basically like, if you want the most basic element of what it's talking about, the most basic element of modulation, the most basic idea of what an oscillator is. I mean, you've got an oscillator and just two knobs, and one is always pitch, I think. So the synth section, yeah, you can just about get some interesting things going on, you know, like I was showing you before. But it's very basic. It's annoying because I want to like this damn thing. Trigger pad velocity is off by default. So I'm turning it all on again. I've done this endless times, and you have to go in and change each individual pad of every pattern to be velocity sensitive. So the crazy thing is, after all that, if I just turn this off, it will just forget all the sampling. So for me personally, I couldn't find anything in the market except the circuit rhythm, where you can record samples into it and then time slice it and put those across the keys. And I chose this over the circuit rhythm because this also should have the synthesizer functionality. So even if you buy this and you put hacktribe on it, the sequencer is awful, there's no song mode, you can't choose patterns on the fly in song mode. You can't, if you try and do the step edit, it's like ridiculously stupid. Again, they have a screen and they didn't just show you like a sequence with steps and where they are and you scroll through them. They didn't do that. It's quite a chunky thing. I mean, this is like 2/3. You could fit 3 Volkers in here. 1/2 centimeter thick cast iron block that the plastic and PCB is sitting inside. It weighs a lot. It's like 1.5 kilograms. You can't make a pattern longer than like 4 bars, and most sequences you can get around that by changing the resolution of the pattern, like changing how many beats in a bar that pattern is trying to squeeze in. So you slow it down so you can make like a 32 beats pattern into like a 64 just by slowing it down. And you can't have loads of detail in it with the notes you're playing, but if it's like a long, slow thing, it works really well. But you can't do that on here. You can't do anything with the sequencing side of it. It's so limited. You can chain patterns together. That's it. You have to change the entire pattern, which is every part and everything is locked into a pattern. I just want a simple sampler that can record a sample and then, a breakbeat, cut it up onto the pads, and then that's it. I just want the very basic elements of sampling, and I can't find that in this day and age. The only things you can find are actually quite old, 90s Yamaha samplers that are small and they record samples and they do way more than this. I'm just shocked at all the good reviews, because I looked at loads of reviews, I looked at loads of videos. The beginner, a very, very beginner, like a child or a teenager who wants to get into it, yeah, okay. But there's much better things on the market that will allow you to get deeper into the deeper aspects of synthesis and things. You could have a whole modulation matrix here. If you had arrow keys here, if you select the source and then the destination, you know, enter, done. This could have been an incredibly deep synthesizer and sampler. You know, you can get some kind of interesting sounds out of it. It's just, they're just so limited. If you just bought this and this, you already can make incredible music with just these two. I mean, that's pretty cool. You know, it's so close to being really good. So that's cool. That sounds cool. You know, it's something that can be used to make some cool sounds. That's the best I can say about it. It's not really succeeding at anything, but it can be used to make some cool sounds. And that's from a sample. I mean, that's pretty cool. You can make some cool funky sounds, but you can't really do anything super practical with it. So it's just a shame, really. Certain companies like Electron are really leading the way in making stuff that's usable, sounds good, and it's user-friendly, you know, and it's up to a really high standard of technical ability. Whereas this is like the opposite, where the user friendliness is very low, the technical ability is very low as well. So certain companies are trying, but the big companies, for some reason, are all failing miserably. Because Roland has really failed with the MC707, MC101, and Korg has failed miserably with this.